Welcome to the Tucson YoungLife Culinary Experience. My name is Paul DeWert, and I'm the Metro Developer for YoungLife in Tucson. I hope you enjoyed your dinner and that you had a great time visiting with your friends. And welcome to our vantage point up here in the Tucson Mountains. From up here, you can see most of the city of Tucson and some of the surrounding communities. Our goal tonight is to tell you more about the mission of YoungLife and the work that we're doing with kids throughout the city behind me. For starters, let's get a lay of the land and where ministry is currently taking place. In central Tucson, we have ministry taking place at Tucson High, Rincon UHS, and Catalina Foothills High School. In northwest Tucson, we have clubs at Ironwood, CDO, Flowing Wells, and a wildlife ministry to middle school kids. In Vail, we have YoungLife at Cienega High School, and we also have wildlife. In Sarita, we have clubs at the high school, and we also have a wildlife at the middle school there. We have a ministry to teen moms throughout the city, which is called Young Lives, and a ministry to students with disabilities called Capernaum. And at the University of Arizona, we have Young Life College Ministry, which reaches out to students in college in the same engaging way that we do with our other kids. But what do we really do in Young Life? That's what I want you to know more about tonight. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to introduce you to Newt Crenshaw. He's the president of Young Life, and he's also going to welcome you to the event. Then we're going to show you a video that I think does an excellent job explaining the mission of Young Life and what we do with kids.
Hi, I'm Newt Crenshaw, the president of Young Life. Thanks for taking the time to show up today and to see what God is doing in the lives of kids in your community. What you're doing is exactly what kids need. Kids need today more than ever adults to show up in their lives. It's through these relationships as adults go where kids are and walk alongside them that we in Young Life earn the right to share about how God showed up in the world through the person of Jesus Christ and how this reveals the extravagant love God has for us. And regardless of a kid's response to God, adults in Young Life keep walking alongside them, no matter what. This is why I love Young Life. I've seen it show up in the lives of my own kids. I took my kids to a Young Life family camp when they were young, and I can still remember the delight and excitement on my daughter's face as she watched the program. The characters making jokes and showing us that life is meant to be enjoyed. And this led to a simple and clear presentation of the gospel, which happens in Young Life every day. Kids hear about Jesus and his love and how they can walk with him. While a global pandemic has changed some of how we do things, our core remains the same. The adults you see on the screen, not me, but others, are the ones who know kids in your community. They actually like spending time with them. And now, when kids are more removed and isolated than ever, they are the ones who have relationships with these kids who are hurting and hopeful, anxious and excited. I want you to know that in Young Life, this is not a season to pause or halt what we do. Rather, we're going forward together. That's our focus. We're finding new ways to go together with kids. We know them and care for them. We are finding creative ways to share life together with them because kids are dear to us. After all, going together is really about showing up. In a few moments, you'll hear about ways to show up for kids in your community. I want you to know that Young Life exists all around the U.S. and in 105 countries around the world. We're in the lives of over 2 million kids. We were able to do this because generous adults in communities like yours have decided kids need adults walking in friendship with them and a chance to hear the good news of Jesus Christ. These adults support this work through prayer, time, and financial resources. Thanks for showing up today and considering how you can show up for kids who desperately need it.
We live in a culture where kids are desperate for meaning and value. They're on this incredible search.
Doesn't matter their skin color, doesn't matter their economic status.
They're filling their lives with all kinds of things, trying to belong.
Kids desperately need caring adults that will come alongside them, get right in the middle of wherever they are.
Who love them no matter what. Young Life is is caring adults who love Jesus and love kids, and they enter into a kid's world.
Young Life is all about going to where kids are.
We're not waiting for a teenager to come to our building. We come to them.
Young Life Club is the 1 hour a week that we gather a lot of kids.
You're gonna have fun, you're gonna be energized, and you're gonna learn that Christ is not boring.
And the great thing about Young Life is when we send kids to Young Life camp, they go with their Young Life leader. And that same Young Life leader who's been with them all year comes home with them.
We take very seriously the task of teaching them how to follow Christ, teaching them how to pray, teaching them how to read the Bible.
The vision of Young Life is that every kid will have the opportunity to hear about Jesus.
Every kid deserves to know who God is, deserves to know that somebody loves them.
How can you join this adventure? Because we are moving and we want you to come along.
Our staff are amazing. We need more of them. Our volunteers are amazing. We need more of them. We have donors who give sacrificially, and we need more of them.
If you love the Lord and have a heart for teenagers, I can teach you the rest.
This is an investment that is going to change kids' lives for generations. This is going to change communities for generations.
We know that if we show up and be available, that God uses that process and kids' lives change.
I'm on the campus of Catalina Magnet High School, where back in 1983, I was a senior in high school. And that's the first time that I ever learned about this thing called Young Life. You see, that year, a group of mostly college-age students started to spend time on our campus and around our school, trying to get to know me and my friends. And they would come to lunch with us, they'd invite us to play basketball and do different things. And then on Monday nights, they'd invite us to this thing called Club. Now, Club was crazy. They would play all kinds of crazy games, they'd do skits, we'd sing songs. But Club always ended with this about 15-minute talk about the person of Jesus. See, what they were doing is they were spending time getting to know us and earning the right to tell us about how much Jesus loved us. In the Bible, in the Gospel of John, in the first chapter, verse 14, it says that the Word became flesh and dwelt among us. Basically, God came to earth in the person of Jesus so that we could know Him and have a relationship with Him. And as you think about it, that's really what my leaders were doing. They basically infiltrated my world, my high school world, so that they could earn the right to tell me about Jesus so that I could have a relationship with Him. Well, that summer, they invited me to go to summer camp at a place called Woodleaf. Woodleaf was in California. And I was already a young Christian, but what was powerful for me is I heard the gospel proclaimed in a way that I never had before. And I watched my friends, people my age, step into a relationship with Jesus for the very first time. It was so powerful for me that I realized that I wanted to become a volunteer leader when I got back home. Well, here I am now, more than 30 years later, and after a rewarding career as a teacher and as a school administrator, I have the great fortune to actually be on staff with Young Life here in Tucson. And in my job is to really help grow the ministry here in Tucson and to support the area directors who are doing ministry in different parts of the city. So what I'd like to do right now is give you a chance to meet them and to know a little bit more about them. Katie Vidal is our Capernaum director working with students with disabilities. Katie is married to Frank, and they have a little girl named Hazel. Cody Bell has been on staff for almost 4 years in central Tucson. He is married to Cheyenne, they have a young son named Oxford, and they just welcomed a new little girl. Nubia Reyes is a staff associate in central Tucson, and she does ministry at Tucson Magnet High School. She recently got married to Salvador. Ben Chambers is our Young Life College director, and he has been in his position for 2 years. He is married to Leslie, and they have 4 adult children. Joe Beck is our area director in East Tucson and Vail. He is married to Grace, and they just bought their very first house in the Vail area. Marcy Siri is our Young Lives director, and she just joined staff this year. Marcy is married to Bill, and she has 2 daughters who are in high school. Dawn Bunno is our area director in Sarita. She's married to Mark, and she has 2 high school-aged kids. Our Tucson Metro Administrator is Teresa Smith. Teresa is married to Hugh, and she has been on staff in Tucson longer than anyone else. Doing ministry during COVID season has presented us with some real challenges. We've had to shift our focus to more of a discipleship model where we spent more time with kids one-on-one. In a way, COVID actually made us get real focused on the things that matter the most in ministry. One is spending time with kids, and the other one is talking about Jesus with them. Our leaders have been creative in their efforts to spend time with kids. We've seen some really cool examples of incarnational ministry. We've seen leaders take kids on bike rides, they've gone hiking, they've spent more time at coffee shops, they spent more time on the phone, and of course, the ever-popular Zoom clubs that we've had to do. I'd like to introduce you to two of our leaders who can tell you a little bit more about what ministry has looked like during COVID season.
Hi, my name is Nubia Reyes, and I am on staff with Central Tucson Young Life, and I'm also a Young Life leader for Tucson High School. Tonight, I'm going to tell you a little bit about what's happening. Behind me, we are having girls campaigners. We like to call it Discipleship Experience. Girls get together every Monday night, and we have an average of about 16 girls, and we go deep into the Bible together. We build relationships among each other, we become friends, and we grow together in Christ. COVID has shifted a lot of what we do. We used to have club every Monday night, and now we do small groups every Monday night, and on the third Monday we get together for a big event. We went from having big events every Monday to now being more intentional in small groups, and that has been super impactful and fruitful. My favorite part about meeting in a small group is that we get to be intentional. We get to grow with these girls. We get to know where they come from. We get to know their story. And most importantly, we get to witness their relationship with Christ just grow and bloom. And we get to enjoy their journey with them.
Hey everybody, my name is Jack Bonney. I am a wildlife leader in the Northwest Tucson area. I've been doing it for about 5 years now. One of the things we do as Young Life leaders is what we call contact work. And contact work is essentially just a fancy phrase that we use that means just hanging out with kids, just being in their lives, sharing our lives with them. So a lot of times this means like going to their football games or their soccer games or whatever, taking them out to lunch or grabbing coffee, just spending time with them. And what we're doing when we do that is we're sharing our lives, but also we're investing in their lives. And when we do that, we really earn the right to be heard. We earn the right to tell them about Jesus, to tell them about the gospel and why it's so important. So for me, as a college student, Young Life is a really cool opportunity to share the gospel. As a follower of Jesus, I believe that my purpose here on earth is to spread the good news for the sake of the kingdom. And what's cool about Young Life is our goal isn't necessarily to minister to those who already believe, who already know Jesus, but to reach the furthest kid out. During contact work, since you're living life with them, you're living their life with them, and you're engaging with what they're interested in, what they do, they already are pretty comfortable and they're pretty open. So a lot of times that's when I have the most, deep and meaningful conversations, and I can actually share Jesus in an effective manner.
If you've been partnering with us already, I want to take this opportunity to say thank you for helping us get this far and for sharing the love of Jesus with kids throughout our city. We know that there's about 40,000 high school kids in the city of Tucson alone, and that doesn't include the kids in Sahuarita or Vail or out in Oro Valley or our friends at the University of Arizona. But we believe that all those kids should have a chance to hear about the love of Jesus. And we think Young Life is an excellent way for that to happen in our community. Wouldn't it be great if we had teams of volunteer leaders at every school throughout the city? Like, I think about Catalina High School, the school that I went to. Wouldn't it be great if we could get a team of leaders back there someday? And then I think about schools like Pueblo High School and Choya High School, where we've never even had a chance to have a group of volunteer leaders. Wouldn't that be awesome if someday we could actually make that happen? If you're learning about Young Life for the very first time tonight, I would like to personally invite you to join us in the exciting mission of Young Life to tell more kids about Jesus throughout our city. Included with your dinner tonight were some materials that I'd like you to take a look at right now. The first thing you're going to find in your materials is a brochure about Young Life. That brochure is going to explain a little bit more about the mission and how we go about the work that we do with kids. The second thing you're going to find in your materials is what we call a case statement. That case statement is going to tell you some more specific information about Tucson, the initiatives that I talked about, and what our goals are for the next 3 years. And the last thing that you're going to find is a pledge card. That pledge card is how you can join us as a financial partner in this mission. Probably the most helpful way that you could be part of that is to set up a recurring monthly gift. The pledge card is the best way to do that. But we will also welcome any one-time gifts that you might be able to provide for us tonight to help us reach our goals. Thank you for joining us. We hope you had a great time and have a great night.